you how I make my everyday bread. Once a week I make this bread, and after trying a few different recipes, this is the one my family prefers. And it's also called sharing bread. Full disclosure, this recipe does come from the King Arthur Flour website, and it is a fantastic loaf of bread. It's whole wheat, and it has flaxseed in it, and it's super healthy and super delicious, and it will make the best toast that you've ever eaten. This is what I make my kids' lunches on every day. This is what we use as our everyday loaf. So let's get started. I'm going to show you what's in here. And for just demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you, this has a cup of unbleached King Arthur bread flour. It has a cup of unbleached King Arthur white whole wheat flour. And if your grocery store doesn't have these items, you can order them online from the kingarthur.com website. We're going to use some Demerara sugar. We're going to use some, and I'll just put this out here so you can see. This is the kind of yeast I use. I get it locally at a discount wholesale grocer. This is readily available. Similar items are available at Costco and Sam's Club. Usually they have the Fleshman's yeast like this. I prefer this brand of the SAF instant yeast. What I have in here is the SAF Gold instant yeast. I could not find my other backup package of it, but I keep it. Once I open one of these vacuum sealed blocks of yeast, which I keep in the freezer at all times, I put it in a mason jar and I keep it in the freezer as well. As long as you keep your yeast in the freezer, it's never going to die, and it's going to suspend any effects that it would have on the yeast if you kept it on the shelf. So when you get your yeast, always put it in the freezer and you'll always have fresh yeast. We're also going to use a little bit of vitamin C crystals. This is a secret to super lofty, fluffy bread. Yeast loves vitamin C, or ascorbic acid, as this is. And we're also going to use some water. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how I do this. We're just going to put the cool water right here in the mixer. And then Rick's going to trade places with me. We are going to put in, let's do the flour, because I want to show you how to measure flour properly. Out of my ratty bag of flour over here, you never, ever, ever, I know your first instinct when you measure flour is to scoop out of here like this. That's not how you measure flour. You measure flour like this. Do you understand? You're actually getting more flour than you need. Give your flour a little bit of a stir. Have a little bowl on the side here, and spoon your flour in this cup like this, and put more in there than you need. Then you can take something with a straight edge, like this butter knife. I'm going to use the back of the butter knife. Do like this, and then sweep it off the top, just like that. Okay. And you're going to put your little extra flour in there. Okay. This goes in the bowl. Then we're going to do our bread flour. Same deal. And when I store these, you can store them in the freezer. I don't have enough room in my inside freezer. I just put them in Ziploc bags and keep them in the pantry until they're all used. Spoon right in here like you're supposed to. Overfill it. Chop, 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 and sweep it off. Put your extra, and I'll just dump this right in the bowl from the cup. Okay, that's easy enough. Now, the next thing we're going to use, we're going to take our vitamin C crystals. This calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon. And you'll see, just like that. I know you don't think that's going to make a difference, but it really, really does. We're going to use 1/4 of a teaspoon of this Demerara sugar. And what Demerara sugar is the sugar before it is totally refined. This has a more molassesy flavor to it. This is what sugar is before they remove the molasses from the cane. So we're going to be adding more of that later. What we're making right now is the starter. This is going to have to sit. So you're going to want to do this early in the morning or earlier in the day before you plan on making your bread. And then you're going to go ahead later and make the dough. The next thing we do is a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. And then we mix. I'm going to put my beater blade in here, like this. Just mix it until it is completely smooth. It's just going to take a couple of minutes. And this blade has, it scrapes the bowl for you. It's a separate blade I bought special for my mixer, so you don't have to go in there and scrape with a rubber spatula. This blade actually scrapes the bowl as it mixes. So we're almost there, and you want it to be smooth. It doesn't matter if there's a few lumps in there. And we're done. Now, what you're going to do, get that excess off of there, toss that in the sink. I'm going to cover this with some plastic wrap, if I can get it out of the package. This is being a pill today. And I try and do this every Sunday. I'm not going to lie to you. There are days, weeks when I don't get to make bread because of scheduling or whatever reason. In the summertime when it's really hot, sometimes I don't make bread either. But in the summertime we don't eat as much bread as we do during the school year and in the winter. I'm just going to cover this with plastic wrap. And then I'm going to put a towel over it. You don't have to. Let it sit there a minimum of 4 hours. You can do this the night before, and you can let it sit overnight. Sorry for the camera. It's the way it is here. We got a couple of dogs here who are deciding to have some playtime. You can let this sit overnight. You can let this sit for as long as 2 days, 48 hours before you use this starter. You'll see it get foamy and frothy. I find the 4 hour sit is perfect. I have let it sit overnight just because it's easier. You make it before you go to bed. You get up in the morning, you make your dough. So we're going to let this sit for 4 hours, and then later on today when I'm ready to make my bread dough, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you what else goes into this delicious bread, and we'll move on with the process of making it. So I'll be back soon.